I'm Sir Flowbojan Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And this
is
WAK.
If Amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Well, you got an intro to do.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on
right.
a freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WAK, where we discuss topics important to the Amtgard community at large and talk with interesting people from around the foam fighting world. This week, we have on Sir Léal Fitzmorgan, who I probably messed up the name. I got it right. See, I said I would get two of them right. And there's a last name that I'd like to know as well. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah.
The last name you missed is Junshin. It means pure heart.
Junshin.
Okay, cool. So
My knight is a big Legend of the Five Rings nerd.
Oh, I love L5R.
Yeah.
okay.
Scorpions forever.
Did you
So is Jinx.
did you seriously hit us with like the Globo gem? Like, I'm cool with it. It's fine. Léal, tell us a little bit about how you got into Amtgard, or if you didn't start with Amtgard, how you got into foam fighting in general.
Yeah, so I actually did start with Amtgard. I was in a number of different hobbies in college, and round about my junior year, one of my friends from like a student lobbying group said, "Hey, I do this medieval foam fighting thing. Are you interested in it?" And I said, "Excuse me?" And yes, that sounds amazing. Sounds like everything I ever wanted in the world. And so we went. And the first event I was ever at was the Great Adventurers Challenge in Polaris. It was a principality at the time. And that was the last year that it was held at a farm in Omro, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And we took my parents' tent, and it thunderstormed the first night. We got approximately 2 hours of sleep.
Makes
the
sense.
tent flooded.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The pavilion in the woods was flipped upside down in the trees the next morning, and I decided, yeah, this is what I want to do for my life now.
Very similar story to whenever I first went camping for Amtgard.
Yeah.
The one and only time I went camping for Amtgard, it stormed, same thing, and somebody was trying to leave the event site while it was raining and ran over the corner of my tent about that far away from my head. I didn't know. I woke up the next day, my tent had collapsed, and I'm like, what's going on? I get out of my tent, I go look around, there's tread marks on the corner of the tent, and I'm putting this together, right? Like I can see the mud line and the tread marks, and I'm like, my head was there.
So, Teflon, were you
1 inch from those tread marks? Wow.
Yeah.
Were you a part of the group that, like, the first big event you went to was the what was the Rising Winds event that was held at Tornado Alley? They had the big storm there that, like, either a tornado blew through and something came through, like a big storm, and it flipped tents over and flooded everybody out.
I think so. I'm trying to remember that name of that event because it was. There's another event now that's not Rising Winds.
That has the same. I don't remember the name of it either. Hey, Rising Winds. All 5 of you from Rising Winds that listen, could you comment and let us know what the name of that event is that all of Winter's Edge used to come up for, and I don't remember the name. And if there's more than 5 of you, comment and let us know because YouTube likes that.
It's not Noblander, is it?
No,
Not Winter War either?
That was
Winter War. That's
Okay.
that's the one that I went to first.
Winter War was
Winter War is what I was talking about.
Okay, so Léal, tell us around what time was this? Like what year was this, so we can get an idea for the rule set you were on and everything else.
So this was V8. It was July, actually, 2015.
Oh, wow.
And that was 1 or 2 years before Polaris's Kingdom push, I think.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's really cool. That's a really interesting time to be in a kingdom or in a principality, is right before it becomes a kingdom because everybody's really excited about it. Then you become a kingdom and
it just falls. That's really what you make it sound like. They become a kingdom and then it just goes to shit.
Back to business as usual, yeah.
Yeah. Back to chaos and whatever else. So we understand you are a knight. What did you get knighted for?
I see some belts.
So I'm So for those, this is an audio media primarily, right?
We do YouTube and Spotify, so it'll show up for YouTube
Gotcha.
users for others who aren't.
I like the one that looks like a wave. That's really
I do
cool.
too.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit of a
So
fade there.
I'm a new Serpent Knight for Master Owl for belt weaving. So the 5 belts that you see
Did you make
behind
the one
me
that's a
are
chessboard?
all my works. I did make the one that's a chessboard. That is the one above my head.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of magnets in that thing.
Oh, really? I didn't even know. I figured you just kind of stuck it together. That's really cool. So, okay, you said Master Owl, correct? Okay, so
Yes.
walk us through that path, because Owl is one of those we don't typically see a lot, at least here in Winter's Edge. We get a lot of, Garber and things like that. But how does Owl come about?
I've always thought that, well, let me put it this way. It's less that I'm a master owl and more that owl is what my kingdom decided to give me for belt weaving.
Okay.
I was wondering. I held my finger up, but I didn't say anything for those that aren't on visuals here, because the kingdoms award for different things. Like, I think that for some belt weaving that we've done, it's been dragons a lot.
I've seen Garber, dragons.
Garber,
and
yeah, Garber's
Owl,
another
I
one.
think.
I don't think that there's a.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to award that, so long as there's consistency in awarding it, right? I don't want to give somebody 4 or 5 and then go, you know what? Let's give them something else for it.
Well, I think the question really goes to him and whether or not it's what they wanted, right? Like, did you want Owl, or were you trying to go for something else and just ended up on Owl?
Well, this is one of those questions that I actually talk to my squires a lot about now. This question of like, are you going for an award or are you going to make an impact on the game?
Fair.
And what happened was I was a young blood squire, desperately wanted to just help my knight do stuff. And he needed to weave a bunch of new company belts. And I said, great, when am I coming over to help?
Yeah.
And I picked up string and a ring, and by the end of the weekend I was hooked. And what happened was I just kept weaving. I tried new stuff, and at some point I realized I really, really love this, and I am really tired of people thinking that belt is just some symbol of status or of belonging, and that it doesn't tell any more of a story than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided I wanted to show Amtgard that belts could be a whole lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who can see here, over my shoulder is a set of Avatar: The Last Airbender inspired belts.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
And so those have resin inlay rings that I did myself. They have carved beads at the end. They have extra end knots. I did a lot of innovation in the weaving world in the last few years.
That's nuts.
And
holy cow.
I had more than a couple people come up and say, you made me know that belts could be more than just a flat color. And that was success to me. The masterhood doesn't matter.
It's
People
the
saying
impact.
you made a difference and you taught me that this was possible, that's what matters to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like that the chest belt's up there as like the 5th Avatar belt, though that might not have been what you meant, so that the non-benders are the strategists.
Earth, water, fire, air, and deep blue, the chess computer from ORNL. These were the 5 elements. I'd watch it.
I will beat Bobby Fischer.
Bobby Fischer. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
So, talk us through one of the things I like to ask, especially people who do crafting, is tell me your favorite piece, your hardest piece, and then the piece you hate the most, and kind of give me some background on those pieces. And
Not that that's a loaded question or anything.
I mean, it's something to go off of. And if you don't have pieces to show, that's fine. You can just describe them, because I know you've probably got a lot more behind the scenes somewhere. But
Yeah. Well, sorry, my brain just calculated where all of the belts are in my house.
That'd be a quick calculation for me.
one in the pants, that's it.
Yeah, done.
The pieces behind me are some of the ones I'm most proud of because they're the ones that are what I completed just before I earned my masterhood. And to me, these four, especially the Avatar-inspired belts, are very much a reminder that I can do hard things and that if you take things one piece at a time, you'll get there. As far as favorite piece,
Tell me your favorite
I
child.
was about to say it's really, really hard to pick, and then I remembered that there's one belt in particular that I was very pleased with. It was for Blaze out of CG, and it was mostly a double serpent weave. So for those who don't know, that's when you have two edge pieces that cross back and forth for each row.
Is that the Air Nomad belt you have behind you? Is that a similar thing too?
No, it's actually this one here. The Earth style one is a double serpent. So it has.
Oh, I see.
That there's the Weft is actually on both sides in each row. Single serpent would only have a Weft every other row.
Okay, I got you.
Because it's going in an S pattern.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that belt was one of the first times that I did color changing in the middle of a weave. So I was cutting and splicing in macrame cord, and that belt is two different pride flags put together. It is an asexual and an agender flag, and it splits across the waist. So like the front is the asexual flag, I think. If it's been a while since I've looked at it, and the back, the part that goes across the waist from hip to hip on the back, is the other flag.
I didn't even.
And then the tail piece brings all of those pieces in together. Yeah, I mentioned I bring in a lot of innovations. That's one of them.
Yeah.
But that particular piece, I remember just looking at and saying, "This is one of my favorite belts." It just hit the right vibe.
So, with splicing them that way, is it using the fusible aspect of the macrame cord, or do you do something
Absolutely.
different? Okay.
No, it is absolutely the fusible piece. There's a belt that I did that I called the Four Seasons belt. It was made with scraps from this project behind me here. And it goes from winter to spring to summer to fall in colors. And it's a basic S weave. So the one weave that if you're going to learn something about weaving, you've probably learned the S weave. It's a diagonal pattern. It's pretty simple.
It's
that one. That's the one I know.
Flat weave, I think is what Winter's Edge just kind of traditionally called it. Yeah.
It's this one.
So that's a cool looking belt. I'm just saying.
So the way that the splicing worked in that particular piece was that I was very careful to splice in the weft. So the weft is the cord that goes from left to right, or as we weaving nerds like to say, from weft to white, because we think we're funny. But you splice there because if there's any sharp edges in your melted splice, it's hidden. It doesn't matter. You can't see it. The darkened color of the macrame cord is not going to come through. It's going to be hidden by your warp, the stuff that goes up and down along the belt. And it just makes a nicer, cleaner belt.
That's really cool. So who did you say you made this double pride flag belt for?
That was for Blaze.
How'd you come to know that person? What made you want to make a belt for them? Are they I guess they're not your knight, but who is this person?
Blaze is a friend. Was first a friend of my partner first, and became a friend of mine. Is a friend of groups of my fighting company turned household, Path of the Dragon.
Oh, okay.
Not in the group, but a good friend of ours, and it was a commission.
Fair enough, yeah.
That's another question. By the way, shout out to fighting companies turned households. The
Is there something about the triads we don't know yet?
No, that was SOR.
SOR.
Oh, right. Okay. Show him the tattoo again, I guess.
Fuck you. Don't at me. That's another good question, though. We've asked a lot of the crafters that have come on the show this. We always like to get someone's take, though. Things that are being made for commission. This is handled differently in a lot of different areas in Amtgard. Does Polaris have a problem if you are turning something in to have it qualled, but you're also going to be selling it?
I have no idea. So while I started in Polaris, I'm no longer in Polaris. I'm a Knight of Crystal Groves. I've been in Crystal Groves for the past 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And I'm very, very happy to be on the East Coast, honestly.
So, while in Crystal
I have
Groves,
no idea what
do
the
they have
ANS
an
culture
idea?
looks like in Polaris.
Does Crystal Groves care one way or another if you're going to be selling something that you've created?
Not that I know of. I actually ran into once where I had a piece entered and somebody asked if they could buy it.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Now that's an interesting idea for like a crafting challenge, right? Like you qual it and then it goes to an auction.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I mean,
like that. That'd be kind of cool.
I don't know. Some people don't want to give away stuff they've qualled, but if that was the idea behind it, it'd be.
Yeah, I was going to say this is like you do an ANS thing where the idea is that some of your crafters are going to make some money off of this, right? And that's okay because it's a silent auction and the money goes to the crafters.
That's interesting.
So like CG does not do quals.
Oh, good for
anymore.
them.
So
yeah.
So it would just be ANS competitions and
yeah.
I don't care, and I'm a leading crafter in CG, so
yeah.
It's one of those things.
Goes.
So not quite.
Crafty might makes
not
crafty
seen
right.
Any evidence. I've not seen any evidence of the culture being such that it matters if you're going to be selling something.
That's fair.
Gotcha.
I think it's more important that something be clean and nice when it's entered than so like you'd want to enter it before you send it to somebody before it gets worn.
Do you do a lot of judging up in CG?
Me personally, that's something I got into more in the last couple of years. Especially with COVID, I was actually doing a lot of online judging.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done a couple of judging events and mostly at the park level here in CG, but I am running our Kingdom Summer Mid-Range Dragon Master. So while I won't be judging, I will be assisting judges and running the tournament.
You won't be judging. You'll just be doing literally
everything else. Yeah.
No big deal. It's fine. No, it's funny. We got rid of quals here in Winter's Edge as well about 2 years ago, and despite that, we cannot stop calling Dragon Masters and that sort of thing. We can't stop calling them quals. I've tried. It just won't go away. Are you going to qual that? We don't have quals. You going to enter that in the Dragon Master? Yes.
Yeah. No, I have really enjoyed getting rid of quals. I don't think that I understood the argument for quals, the whole like you're showing some investment. But all of the objections that I heard to it just didn't happen once we got rid of it. Oh, you'll have 300 people run for office. Really? Do you promise?
Yeah. Can we really? That'd be so good.
But no, we still have plenty of positions here in Winter's Edge that go uncontested.
Shout out Guildmaster Reeves. What's up?
Yeah, which, by the way, larger Amtgard world, if you would like to come to Winter's Edge and become a shadowy overlord, we'd love to have you. No, so I ask about the judging for a very specific reason. You're going to be running this upcoming one. When you are looking to get judges, or you are going to be a judge for a particular competition, do you try to find a lot of places in Amtgard are just anyone that's willing to judge because it's such a hard role to fill? Are you fortunate up there to have a good mix of judges with a good skill set? Is it something that your kingdom's still trying to work towards getting some more judges that have a wider skill set? We definitely are in that category. We have some really good judges here, but we don't have
some
enough
rotation.
Yeah, we don't have enough yet.
Sure, I think we are kind of in that same stage of we have a handful of up and coming crafters who have quite a bit of skill and expertise, and it's tough to get them to judge because they're also wanting to enter and climb the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
But something that Crystal Groves did do Sir Piper and Dama Katrina are a couple of flame knights, and Katrina just got knighted for crown. A couple of knights up in our, a couple of other knights up in our kingdom here, ran a judging symposium a few years back. So it was a day-long workshop of crafters teaching people how to judge their craft.
That's really cool.
We have an event called Symposium soon. Does anybody want to teach that class?
Their classes are full.
You'd need a panel.
Yeah.
You need a panel of different masters, or at least different high-level crafters.
How do we get Lexi?
There are so many crafts that it's really, really hard to be able to be a judge who knows just enough to be able to judge all those things decently. Even with my knowledge, and I will say, like, the list of crafts that I do is much larger than the list of crafts that I don't do. So I have dipped my toes in most things, and even then, it can be really hard to judge things. There are times where I know something's off, but I can't find the words for it.
Mm-hmm.
Or on the other end, I know it's perfect, but I can't tell you why.
Yeah.
The word you're looking for is cattywampus. Your belt's just a little cattywampus. 3 points. What does this mean? It's
It's a southern thing. Don't worry about it.
Wait, you got someone that gave you feedback on a...
Is cattywampus not a thing anywhere else? Is it just here?
Oh, I know it.
Oh, thank God. Okay, Jeff said it's a southern thing, and I was like, no. I've been saying that so much.
You broke his little world.
Dude.
So the moving on from the ANS stuff, because I know that that's a big part of what has been your journey in Amtgard, but you have some other interests in Amtgard as well. You had mentioned that you started over in another part of the country. Polaris is a really big battle gaming group, even as a principality. Battle gaming a big part of your young Amtgard life, and is it still a part of it?
Yes and yes. That first event, I was given a purple sash, and somebody helped me make a couple of swords, and it was Rising Winds does that auto 6 thing.
Yeah.
So I was dumped into the deep end real quick. I had a little, I think 2x1 little cheat sheet of like all of the warrior abilities, and that thing was my lifeline. And then I kind of got almost peer pressured into playing Bard because I am a musician. I'm a musician, classically trained euphonium player.
Oh, wow.
I actually haven't played in a few years because I've been living in apartments. But the folks who knew me knew that I really loved music, and they were like, you should play Bard, you should play Bard, you should play Bard. And I kind of finally gave up and did it. And then, whoops, I love this thing. All right, here we go, let's do it.
Nice.
So I was doing a lot of work in my first few years of Amtgard to get really, really good at playing Bard. And then I moved to the East Coast for graduate school. Mm-hmm. And it took me a few years to get, not a few years, a few months to get back toward Amtgard. That was at the time where Eastern Dagahir was fissuring into Hearthlight.
Oh, okay.
And I had a little bit of a helping hand in that.
I'm nodding, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, Dagahir's a bit of a dumpster fire.
Again, but also then too.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Dagahir is a recurring dumpster fire, shall we say? Mm-hmm. And this was one of the many times that more than a handful of chapters decided that they were done with Dag and wanted to make their own game. So I got to help found Hearthlight, and somewhere in there, I found Blackthorn, which is one of the more northern parks in Crystal Groves, and convinced my friend Bane Thunderthrow, to drive me down there because I didn't have a car on campus at the time. And he fell in love with it as well. So we got to keep going to Amtgard.
Nice.
Nice.
And that was when I had the freedom to really start chasing the Paragon Bard. Yeah, that was good.
See,
And battle gaming is, to answer the other half of the question, battle gaming is still really important to me, but I find it really, really difficult to take the field with COVID. My partner is a cancer survivor, and so we've actually not been going to park the last few weeks because the COVID numbers are they're on the downtrend, but they're still pretty high in our area. And without mask mandates, we just don't feel safe going, even though it's an outdoor activity. And we do have a vaccine requirement in CG, which is really important to me. I'm actually not sure I'd still be playing if we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's fair.
Yeah, it's completely understandable. I mean, you got to look out for you and your family first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd like to protect others along the way.
Yeah.
Sure.
So speaking of pandemic stuff,
God, that is a really cool mug. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like it. I like it too.
Mug.
Yeah, we should get something other than Coke bottles.
I mean, we did,
We've
but
got the
we're
WAK
also
water
idiots.
bottle.
So
Mine's sitting in there, and I still didn't get it. So speaking of pandemic stuff, did you have a lot of? You mentioned reaving for or judging for a lot of online competitions. Did CG have some online activities going on while the pandemic was going on? This is again something that all of the kingdoms handled a little bit differently. I'm actually pretty proud of how we did it.
Yeah, early in the pandemic, it was a little tough. I think our kingdom monarchy at the time just kind of got sideswipes by this shock of a thing that everybody...
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, everybody had a really hard time with it. And that was really tough at the time, but looking back at it, totally understandable. And even in the moment, it was usually very understandable. Like, adapting to an online world was tough. We had to do it for work. And anybody doing it for work probably didn't have the energy to figure out how to make it happen for Amtgard.
Yeah, it's fair.
So the first monarchy team that we had in CG stumbled, as anyone would.
Yeah.
And then the next monarchy group did quite a bit of online work. We did move toward using Facebook rooms and Discord chats and such like that for court, for events. We did a little bit of online ANS, but not very much. A lot of CG folks actually went up to, we actually traveled a ton, mostly to Ironwood and the wetlands.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
That was where I got started in judging.
Yeah, shout out to Ironwoods and wetlands there.
Isn't that where O'Banion's from?
Ironwood? No. He's from, what's the name of his park? It's Mushroom Cap Park.
I don't think we can call it that on here. I don't feel like
we have an
allowed to
explicit
say
rating. We can call it whatever we want.
I thought you're right.
But no, he told us the story about having the mushroom-shaped building. And
yeah, I just don't remember.
Hey, O'Banion, I know that you watch the podcast. Would you tell us what your park name is? Down in the comments, because we've all forgotten.
We could just re-listen to the episode.
No. We can't start down that road.
Okay.
So I ask for I asked the online question for a specific reason. Is there anything now, even though we're starting to come out, and hopefully things will continue to improve over the next little bit, that you would love to see continued in this online presence? Anything from ANS to groups getting together to play video games, role play, whatever.
Yeah, I would love all of that. Honestly, I would love to see hybrid ANS competitions. I would love to see more court being live streamed if possible. I know we love our no service campgrounds.
Yeah.
But if we can get places where we've got service and we can do live streams so folks who can't attend can be there and at least be there in spirit for court and to not miss everything. That's great. My squires and I, we play Valheim every weekend, every Sunday evening after park. And Path of the Dragon is now getting together every other week to just chat on Discord for a few hours. I think those are really helpful, really good. And on the hybrid ANS thing, get back to me in about 4 weeks because the KSM, the Summer Mid-Rain Dragon Master that I'm running is hybrid. So
that'll actually be nice because I think that this episode is going to come out in about 4 weeks. So we will put
Perfect.
we will put some more information to that in the
Just
comments.
look in the comments down below. It'll say
Yep.
it went bad or it went good.
Now, when you say hybrid, are you saying that like you can enter it both as an online or in person, or is there like a different setup to that?
Sure, yeah, I'll give you the rundown. Rule 0 is that anything that can be entered online must be entered online, and anything that can be entered in person must be entered in person. This means that most things will be entered in both places.
Gotcha.
So things that can be entered online but can't be entered in person for whatever reason, that's fine. Things that can be entered in person but can't be entered online, also for whatever reason, also fine. However, everything else can be entered about anywhere from 2 to 1 week early. So today, recording day being June 28th, our entries are actually going to open July 1st, and the event is July 15th. So online entries are due July 8th. So there's a 1 week time period for entries to get in, and then all of our judges have 1 week to, at their leisure, look at all of these entries in whatever time they want to take with them, and they can put together
Yeah.
they can put together preliminary scores. Ideally, they'll have an hour every night or so over the course of that week to take a look at all these entries, and then they'll just take some notes about what details they want to look at once they get to see the item in person, and then you take 5 minutes with a piece instead of 20.
Yeah, no, I
And
really
judging
like
goes
that.
from 8 hours to 3.
Yeah, your notes are
That's the
basically
hope.
like, this is a 6, or, this is a whatever. This is a 10 out of 10 if it's done this way. And if it's not, when I see the piece, I'll have to rate from there. I like that.
I like that a lot. Also, kind of gives you the heads, like you said, the heads up to kind of prejudge an item and be like, okay, well, that seam looks good, but I want to see this particular seam in person or something along those lines, right?
Yeah,
That's
leave notes for yourself.
Yeah, that's really quite good. And I assume, are you going to set it up so that the numbering system or lettering, however you do pieces, is going to still be the same, back to front as far as online to offline and things like that? Okay, cool.
Yep. So we've got a Google spreadsheet all set up with thanks to Alona Tutrees for setting up the amazing Google form and spreadsheet template. I borrowed the crap out of that, and I introduced some extra logic because we have way too many subcategories. But we got all that set up. Our judges are going to use it once we have all of the entries in, and I will make sure that it is editable offline so I can bring my laptop with me to the event.
Nice.
So what is the hope or the goal in setting this up as a dual online offline? Like, obviously there's the hope that you can normalize doing online competitions a little bit more, but did you have another goal in mind with it for this?
Yeah, when I set out to do this, I had 3 goals in mind. 1, to get some more visibility for pieces. So yes, all of our entries are going to be entered in an online form, but they're also going to be posted to the event page and available on our Kingdom page to be seen by anybody who's on the Kingdom page. So you get the benefit of that online visibility that we had with the online ANS competitions. It makes traveling a whole lot easier in that sense. 2, accessibility in general. Some people just can't get to the event. And although we have set up, we're also piloting a courier program where one person, an appointee from every park is going to coordinate getting items from anybody who can't attend the event to the event. So while we're creating that opportunity, there are still going to be some people who can't get their stuff to the event. And we don't want to ask them to spend money to ship it somewhere.
Yeah, makes sense.
Especially if it's something that's fragile. So we want to give them a chance to be able to get their entry in anyway. And 3rd, I really wanted to, it's not quite removing the burden of judging, but it's spreading the burden out so that you don't lose your entire day on the event, because our Dragon Masters are on Saturday and judging starts at 1, and
Court.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it ends at court. more likely you're still judging through court, and boy, oh boy, are you hoping you've got a Dragon Master figured out by the time it's your time to announce something.
You guys are not the only one, so don't feel too bad because we do the same thing.
I accidentally ran one quals and had to experience that, and it's
It's so fun listening to your monarch go, and we have a Dragon Master? Yeah, Dragon Master. Okay, let's announce the Dragon Master.
Hey, if you ever need it, Flo's good for a tight 10. All right, he'll just vamp for a minute, buy you some time.
Hi, everyone. This is Flo.
I've actually done stand-up. Why didn't I put that on me?
I actually really like the idea of having, I guess, the official person from each park bringing things. Because we've done this like at our park for years. We used to go to Florida for Neverwinter events and stuff like that because when we were a principality, that was our kingdom, and we would ship our stuff down there basically. And so the crew going made the whole kind of reach out of like, hey, we're going. Is there anything you need taken down? But sometimes that's not an obvious thought for everybody. So I think that going forward, that might be something to put through our kingdom just page and be like, hey, I know that some people can't make it to events and still want their pieces judged, and if we don't have a hybrid format like this, then maybe that's a potential answer, you know.
It was a pain, too, because, I mean, if 4 of us are in a car, and I reach out because I want my friends to be able to turn in their stuff, too, now my Toyota Echo, is full of 4 people and their stuff,
It's a clown
plus
car.
my friends' stuff. Like, we're literally, the people that are in the back seat are just packed in.
Yeah.
We got to unpack you to get out at gas stations.
Hey, if you move, you're going to break Lexi's qual entry, so don't twitch for the next 7 hours. No, I also like the idea of having the online portion, because I was sitting here trying to rack my brain and think of what would be an online-only entry and what would be an in-person only entry. You know, how would you...
You can do writing online.
Well, this
Food's
is what I'm
about
going to
the
say.
only one
Is
I
it
can think
opens
of.
it up to so many more mediums that wouldn't exist in a traditional ANS, right? If you wanted to do a really
Exactly.
cool video promoting your park, you can't really call that in person. You know, if you want to do a really cool website or a game or something like that, that all lends itself to being online.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like that as an idea just because it does open more avenues for people to create stuff who might not be, I guess, traditionally talented.
I didn't think about that. It's really interesting.
I don't know if traditionally talented is maybe the best phrasing. That whatever.
For
You know what I'm trying
Amtgard,
to
it
say.
kind of probably is, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's look at it.
Well,
We have
you're expanding the horizons of what Amtgard considers to be a valid craft.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Let's look at some of the stuff Hogman's done. Let's use Hogman as an example here. I mean, Come Try LARP has promoted not just Amtgard, but DAG, Bell.
You know, LARP.
Yeah, just LARP in general. And that is definitely not that I don't think that Hogman's ever qualled any of his stuff, but it would be a non-traditional path for a thing. But I could still see some of it being entered. If you made a hype video for all of Amtgard, which I easily think that Hogman could do, then
Yeah.
that would be a good online entry to do. I'm a big fan of it.
Can I tell you, something came up at the last event that I think would be an amazing Qualls entry. Not Qualls. Dragon Master. Dragon Master entry.
I don't know why you guys get so hung up on that, to be honest.
So, somebody visited our event from a different kingdom. I don't even remember which kingdom, but they have a pretty big incel person on their page, and instead of lamenting that because those people are obnoxious and tiring, they did it as dramatic poetry reading, and it transformed everything. And I was like, I would actually attend a Bardic if it was just like dramatic Amtgard inceldom roasting.
What is it?
I'm not going to take the time on the air to explain what an incel is. You can Google that on your own, and I'm very sorry if you do. They suck so
I'm not
fucking
going to
bad.
Google it then. Hey, I'm one of those people that doesn't do the whole "this tastes terrible, here, try it."
Yeah,
No.
It was funny because they were reading this post and they were reading it. They were reading it very dramatically, and you may, if you would, please edit that out. They would read it very dramatically, and it was like they were holding the skull, alas, poor Yorick, but it was, women don't like me, whatever, and it's like, bro, I would watch a whole Bardic of this.
It's horrible.
I don't know, maybe it's just me. So let's go with this. Obviously, Amtgard's gone to some new places and continuing to go new places. Where do you want to see Amtgard go? What does the future of Amtgard look like for you?
Man, you and the loaded questions.
They're all
today.
loaded, man. I don't know.
Join me, Léal, in house dumpster fire. Guess what our symbol is?
It's just the Neverwinter symbol?
Ouch.
Well, by the time this comes out, they'll all have forgotten it. It's fine.
Probably.
I was going to go with the Alaska Kingdom.
Oh.
No offense intended to the people up in Alaska, but you
gonna
are
say,
a
like,
dumpster fire a lot, guys. You
terrifying.
are a dumpster fire.
Oh,
I love
be
you to
nice.
death.
No,
So I wasn't ready for this one.
Yeah. Kate, could you solve all of Amtgard's problems
no,
for
that's
us?
not the question.
So here's my thought, right? I think the Amtgard of the future is more nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
And that by nuance, I mean that we are more willing to understand the value of all of the different things that contribute to our community,
Right.
and everybody sees it. I also want to add, I think the Amtgard of the future is more inclusive, i.e., we're just gonna stop tolerating bullshit.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Because Amtgard has become, in a large part, a really safe place, especially in Crystal Groves, for queer folks.
Mhm.
We're not good enough about our racism issues. Amtgard as a whole is not good enough about our queer issues. Amtgard as a whole is not good enough about inclusion, and we need to be.
Yep. Sure. Absolutely.
And once we are, we'll have some more space for that nuance.
Yeah. See, I don't feel like it's a super loaded question, because it's not a question I think has an answer, right? Like, if you were to ask me what the future of Amtgard looks like, it's actually very similar to what he just said, where it's essentially Amtgard is a space that, you know, has room for everyone. I forget who said it, but this is a game where we can't all win.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody gets knighted, that doesn't take a knight slot away from the kingdom. We could all be knights one day. And that could just be a fucking thing, right? Like, we all have that potential, and to make those avenues for people, I think is definitely a place our game could go. And I see it heading that way. We just have to be careful about how we do it, and, you know, make sure that we are being as inclusive as we can. I think we line up pretty decently well on that one. So I didn't want to answer it for you, but that would.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said.
Yeah, I think that this is going to sound horrible, but there's no good way to say it either. I think that as the younger generations come up too, there's going to be more inclusivity in that. Like, we have a lot of people
Tell me about this old man yelling
I know.
at the clouds.
We have a lot of people in the game that are starting to be phased out, that have ideas that just don't align with a lot of where Amtgard is now. They're remembering how the game used to be when it was a might makes right sort of situation. And for various different reasons, because they've gotten older, because they've gotten banned, because their kingdoms have had enough of their shit or whatever, those people are starting to phase out. And the people that are replacing them are people that are more, I'm going to say, sensible or reasonable people. And so I think that given enough time not that it's going to do it on its own. It's going to take work from all of us. But I think given enough time, we're going to see a shift in that direction as well, just from a younger generation coming in.
And I'd like to add, I've seen evidence of, especially in CG, quite a bit of old guard really sitting down and learning from the younger generation. My Knight is a great evidence of this. And I would love for other folks to take his example. He saw me, a relatively young trans kid, just doing a bunch of cool stuff, and said, I want to make sure that this game is safe for you, and I'm going to listen to you and learn how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Like, you old guard folks who are listening, if you're feeling like you're not comfortable in this game, remember that Amtgard can be everything you remember it was, but way better if you make it safe for the kids around you.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do that is to listen to them and follow through on what they ask you to do. It's actually not that hard.
Yeah.
You can do it. And they'll love you all the more for it.
Yeah, I remember that, I don't remember how long ago it was now, maybe a couple of months, we got to interview Sir Alucard down in Dragonspine, and he was talking about their park has seen some really, really big growth because just because they did some outreach, they were more inclusive. They, I believe Alucard was the one that said they did something as simple as just putting a pride flag out at the park and kind of using that as a litmus test. I hope I'm using that term correctly to say, hey, when people look over from a distance, this is something that we're okay with. If you're not okay with that, cool, don't come up and talk. If you are okay with it, then you've already bought into a lot of the values that we're going to be supporting before you even step up and talk to us.
Yeah, you can self-select.
Self-select, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really, really smart idea. Very good use of symbolism there as a way to self-select.
So we're running to that point where not only does the show come to a close, but also our SD card runs out of space, as is our miraculous professionalism. So one of the questions we always end with, and I'm going to give you some time on this one because this is the most loaded question we ever ask. One of the questions we always end with is, what is your funniest, craziest, most awesome Amtgard story from the time you've been playing? Keep that on the back burner. Before we get to that, I also want to give you just a little bit of free space to, kind of if there's anything you want to mention or talk about, anything that you think we haven't brought up that needs to be brought up, you can certainly interject with that here. But just kind of back burner that question because that comes up awfully fast and most people aren't prepared for it. Oh, and Flo, if you want to do our regular Patreon whatever plug while he's thinking.
I would never, ever plug to our beautiful Patreons who are the only reason that we're able to do this show. That's not true. We were doing it before we had a Patreon.
But thanks for the new SD card, guys.
But thank you for the new SD card, which we need in less than 10 minutes. Seriously, I do want to thank all of our Patreons and everyone who supports the show in any way. If you would like to support what we do, easiest thing that you can do is just click that like or subscribe button down there below. Put some comments about what you thought about the show, and most importantly, tell your friends. We would love for all of the kingdoms to be represented on the podcast, to have a voice. We've actually been working through and trying to visit someone from every single kingdom. So one of the things, I actually want to ask a question of you too, Léal, that's different from the one that Cabbage asked. But if you'd like to become a Patreon or do any of the other things, all of those links will be in the description below. Before you tell your story, I have a question for you.
That was a whole other question.
It was, if I could only go to one event at Crystal Groves.
Yeah, okay.
Like I was going to be traveling and I was setting up my travel schedule and I could only come to one event in your kingdom. What event should I come to?
Man, honestly, any of our kingdom level events are great. If you're talking about a park level event, I would look at BFE's Beat and Eat or Blackthorn's. They have a Wings and Wax event, I think is what it's called.
Okay, you got my interest on that one.
In general, it is LARP time and then food time.
You can't call it
wrapped into one.
Wings and Wax.
Yeah, you can. You can CG call it.
It's just a Saturday night,
man. And I am interested based on name alone.
Yeah.
But honestly, any of our kingdom level events are great. I slightly prefer Feast of the Dead, which is in October, over Feast of Fools, because it's slightly less ridiculously cold. If you like the heat, come to our Kingdom Summer Mid-Rain.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I do not.
Then come to FOD.
Yay!
So I don't think there's anything else I really want to talk about. We hit the inclusion parts and how to make Amtgard better side of things. It's not the funniest story necessarily, but it's the one that comes to mind offhand was a park day where bard shenanigans were abounding, and myself and one of my bard apprentices went out there, and I think either we both took the 52 shove meme list or something similar to that.
Yeah.
Right. Tons of shoves, and we're on opposite sides of the field. And our barbarian friend is in the middle of the field, right? Big old guy, massive axe, nice big beard, red and black, just a vision of barbar greatness, right? And he's standing there in the middle of the field, full kilt, all that stuff. And there's me on one side and this little like 15-year-old bard on the other side. And it's just shup, 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 shup for a solid 5 minutes. This poor guy's running back, just running sprints 20 feet back and forth between the two of us.
It's just
We call it Baneball.
Yes.
You're dating yourself with that reference.
No.
And you said it was Baneball? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so my friend Bane Thunderthrow was the poor monkey in the middle there between the bards.
That's awesome.
All right, who are we getting with this on Sunday?
Oh, it could be anybody. It doesn't matter who.
Oh, man, I'm not going to be there on Sunday.
You need cardio, bud?
No.
All right. Okay, Léal, it's been so great. Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Float, you already did the plug? Yeah?
I did. I think we're good.
I'm going to roll this outro. Before I do the outro, I want to give a huge shout out to, oh my God, I forgot our editor's name. Hold on.
Oh, this is
not
hilarious.
Yume, Sume. T-S-U-M-E. Sume. Sume, thank you so much for editing our podcast. I will get this into the outro at some point, but I need to go ahead and plug it here because he's been doing some fantastic work behind the scenes getting these edited for us. So Yume, Sume. Hold on. I'm getting this right, damn it. I will not let it go wrong. Hold on.
We're going to run out of SD card. This is going to be great.
Go ahead, Sue me. Because his name is Sume.
Okay, sorry. Sume. I did have it right the first time. Sume, thank you so much. And I promise to get it right next time. Sume, thank you so much. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more.